August the 4th, 2022, unfortunately will always be seared in my mind. That is the day that an incident stunned the entire nation. A car accelerated down a major street in Los Angeles, California, looking like a missile, striking several vehicles, killing 5, including an unborn child.
Yeah, Chuck, that story is tough to listen to. When you think about those families who are looking for justice in this, the first step perhaps to that is happening now. Early this morning, the woman involved in this was arrested, and she's facing some very serious charges. New video shared with NBC4 today of the aftermath of the crash at La Brea and Slauson that killed 6 people and injured 8. The flames still burning as emergency crews rushed on site. Today, we've learned most of the first responders are not at work, instead working with grief counselors over what they witnessed. Traveling nurse, most recently from Houston, Texas, and that she was on her way home from work when the crash happened. CHP says because so many pain meds were given to the driver after the crash, there was no way to do a proper drug evaluation on site. But today, still being treated for her injuries, they arrested and charged Linton with vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence.
She came through very expedient. There was no brakes, there was no horn, nothing to indicate that there was something wrong.
The crash happened just before 2 yesterday afternoon. Among the dead, a young pregnant mother, her infant baby, and her fiancé.
The indescribable incident touched me differently. You see, I reside not too far from the horrific scene. My family members just left my home literally 10 minutes before the crash occurred. One family member told me she had a thought to drive in the direction of the crash, but she decided to go the opposite way. I can't imagine how it would have been if she didn't follow her second decision. Nicole was born and raised in Jamaica and moved to the States when she was 10. She comes from a very large family where she is the youngest of 6 siblings. One of the things that makes Nicole's family proud of her is that she is just an overall good person. She is hands down one of the most caring and compassionate people that I know, says Camille, Nicole's sister. While in high school, Nicole took care of her mom when she had major surgeries in 2002 and then again in 2003. When their mother was placed in an induced coma, Nicole was there every day to take care of her. She would brush her hair, bathe her, and tend to her wounds. While it was hard for her sister Camille to see her mother in that fragile state, Nicole had no issues with it. Camille believed that was an early sign that Nicole was meant to be a nurse. It is Nicole's love and compassion for others that would drive her to become a nurse. Although it came with its own unique set of challenges, she truly did love being a nurse and helping people. Camille, Nicole's sister, says that Nicole has a deep love for her family and everything Jamaican. She loves reggae and dancehall more than anyone she knows. She would go back to Jamaica as often as she could because that was always home for her. She also wanted to spend as much time with her mother, who lives alone and who she dearly loves. While in CRNA school, as part of a school project, Nicole wanted to implement a program that would improve anesthesia care in rural areas in Jamaica. During one of her trips to Jamaica a couple of months before her first manic episode, she met with local Jamaican doctors to discuss how she could implement her plans. Before the accident, she also had plans to go back to medical school to become an anesthesiologist, as well as plans to open her own restaurant in Houston named Lorraine's Seafood. Camille emphasizes that Nicole is supported by a large family who loves her deeply. For over a month, the media, social media, and prosecutors have told Nicole's story in what seems like an attempt to paint her as this reckless and or suicidal murderer. But her family knows the real Nikki. We had to sit back quietly while the world berated and dehumanized Nicole. Nicole's mental health struggle started with her first manic episode in May 2018. resulting in a bipolar disorder diagnosis. Until that point, there was nothing that would lead her family members to believe she had a mental illness. Along the strenuous path taken to becoming an anesthetist nurse, May 2018 is when everything changed for Nicole. Looking back on it, Camille believes Nicole fell victim to her own drive and ambition. She was achieving one goal after another with no breaks in between. Not claiming to be a medical expert, Camille believes stress of school and other things in Nicole's life triggered or exacerbated some sort of underlying condition. One night, I got a call from Nicole, who had been arrested. She placed an officer on the phone who proceeded to tell Camille that someone needs to come to Houston ASAP,
because she is deteriorating right before his eyes. Recently, within the past 6 weeks, Camille learned that during Nicole's booking process, it was reported that Nicole was at first acting erratic and talking a bunch of nonsense. Then all of a sudden, she went into a catatonic state where she wasn't moving. Suddenly, as if the lights went off, Nicole appeared as if she couldn't hear or interact with anyone around her. The doctor who is currently evaluating her believes that these symptoms may indicate frontal lobe epilepsy, which often lasts around 30 seconds and can cause stiffness in the body and loss of awareness. It is usually followed by amnesia, where the person doesn't remember blacking out.
Camille recalls one day observing Nicole consistently checking her blood pressure. When she saw how high it was, she became anxious. At one point, she thought her organs were going into system failure. She wanted a respirator to open up her lungs, even suggesting that they take her to a place that does flotation therapy, which she thought would help calm her down and lower her blood pressure. Camille managed to convince Nicole to see a student counselor at UT Health. When they got there, Nicole became more anxious, but she was able to calm herself down enough to finally speak with the counselor. It was suggested that Nicole voluntarily undergo psychiatric treatment, which she agreed. They arrived to the hospital. Nicole became anxious again. She didn't want to go inside the facility. Camille called her older brother, who spoke to Nicole. After the phone conversation, she willingly went inside the hospital. Once inside the hospital, Nicole became increasingly aggravated and anxious more than previously. She paced the hospital lobby while acting paranoid and ranting about numerous things. Camille became insoluble. The lady sitting next to Camille, who tried to bring comfort to her as Nicole continued behaving in a manner which was confusing and alarming to all who watched her. A technician came to do Nicole's vitals. Her blood pressure read 163 over 110. This only agitated Nicole more. She kept murmuring that she needed to calm down. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Camille heard a loud bang. There was a door in the hallway that had a small glass partition. The loud noise came from Nicole banging her head into the glass partition, shattering the glass and cutting her forehead. Emergency personnel issued an emergency detainment order. The ambulance rushed Nicole to the ER. One of the doctors who treated her wounds later told Camille that even with a cut on her forehead, she appeared to be happy while singing Bob Marley's song, Don't Worry. Nicole was eventually moved from emergency psychiatric to the psychiatric facility where she was treated and diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Nicole would remain in the facility for 5 to 7 days. On May 20th, 2019, court records show Linton's then boyfriend recounted they were alone in Linton's apartment when she began talking to herself and to other people who were not there. She was acting paranoid and seeing things and people that were not there. When suddenly Nicole jumped up, sprinted to the window, and dove right through the glass. The document said she removed her clothes after landing in the bushes below. She walked around the apartment complex naked and bleeding from multiple lacerations, confused, unresponsive, and unaware of what was going on. The last episode that landed Nicole in the hospital happened in December 2019. Nicole was seen around her complex being disruptive and paranoid. Camille received a call from a neighbor who managed to retrieve Nicole's phone to call Camille as she was the emergency contact. The ambulance was called and Nicole was taken to the hospital. Camille was on a flight the next day. If she remembered correctly, Camille recalls going to the hospital the same day she arrived. Nicole was discharged into her care. Nicole was not involuntarily detained and was back to her normal self by the time Camille picked her up from the hospital. When they got back to Nicole's house, arrangements were made for Nicole to leave Houston and move in with Camille in her Charlotte home. This would begin her journey into becoming a traveling nurse. Kim, another sister, was on a video call with Nicole the day of the accident. Kim and Nicole spoke pretty much every day. Kim became alarmed due to recognizing the foreboding signs that indicated an episode was soon to come. Nicole began behaving erratically, saying things that did not make sense. Terrified, Kim called Camille 4 minutes before the accident, saying she was scared Nicole was having another manic episode. Kim also mentioned to Camille that Nicole went home for lunch at one point, and it was there while at home she briefly walked across the screen naked while changing. Camille felt she had to clear that part up due to misinformation going around as to why Nicole was naked. After lunch, Nicole went back to work and was there for some period in a manic state. At some point, while still manic, she left work, and that is when the terrible incident occurred. Within hours of the charges announced, allegations were made that Nicole was involved in 13 car accidents. These allegations were attributed to a declaration from the California Highway Patrol officer who claimed that Nicole had 13 prior reportable incidents on her insurance record. This was extremely misleading because it was presented as if she was involved in 13 collisions when a reportable incident could be something as small as calling a tow truck to change a flat tire or jumpstart a battery. They are also now referencing old speeding tickets she received over 10 years ago while driving on a freeway. Camille is not aware of Nicole being involved in any collisions involving high-speed, reckless driving, resulting in serious injuries, or involving any manic episodes. Two components to the prosecutor's theory on why Nicole should be charged with murder was that she was not taking her mental illness seriously and that this would not have happened if she had treated it appropriately. Camille is not sure how the prosecutor can make such a claim without knowing anything about Nicole's medical history. Family is reluctant to speak on anything regarding Nicole's past medical treatment until they have more access to her medical records. The family is gathering Nicole's medical history to show that she had been compliant with doctor's orders, and even while following her medical treatment plan, Nicole still experienced manic episodes. Prosecutors accusing Nicole of not being responsible by not taking her health seriously is an inaccurate, dangerous assessment. It is a misinformed argument as people are still liable to have manic episodes while following a medical treatment plan, which seems to be the case for Nicole, her sister Camille says. Camille would add that if it is the case that Nicole had a neurological condition, That explains why she continued to have manic episodes even while complying with doctor's orders. What deeply disturbed me about the entire issue was when I found out that Nicole was displaying manic signs while at her place of employment. I would think that working at a hospital, a place where you're treated for a medical condition such as what Nicole had been diagnosed with, someone, her superior or coworker, would have stepped in to ensure that a member of their staff was in a condition to drive themselves home or drive themselves anywhere. Seeing that she was acting in a manner that might have been alarming and very unusual. It seems that people in the medical field, to an extent, will be responsible for recognizing when someone is having a mental episode that can possibly impair their judgment, which would cause harm to themselves as well as others. I feel they severely dropped the ball when it came to their coworker and employee. Someone should be held responsible within a hospital. That's my firm opinion. Okay, that's the end of the story. That's the end of what I put together. I will provide links to the Nicole's family website they created and possibly other sources that I gathered this information from. If you like what you've heard and you want a variety of interesting content, consistent uploads, please subscribe, like, share, and comment. It would help so much, and we'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks, and enjoy your weekend. Happy Mother's Day weekend.